How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, brother. Good, good. Oh, I never wear them anymore, and it's like, oh, let me sort of dust off this one and this.
Oh no, it's holiday.
Good morning and welcome to the service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. I am Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, and I have the great pleasure of serving as minister of this congregation. This community is as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are on the path to becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here and now. I extend a special welcome to any visitors and invite you to fill out a guest information card, which our administrator, Mary Weiss, will post in the YouTube chat right now. And we will meet on Zoom for social hour after the service. See the e-blast from this morning or YouTube chat later for that link. There are a few more than a dozen of us here in Holland Sanctuary this morning. We have a child dedication, which has brought in some special family members. You will only see some of us on video, but those you will not see are my son Otis, our child care provider Lily Ware. We have a number of Rowans, friends and family here so you might see some of them, you might not see some of them. We have our chaplain, Reverend Carlin Stone Brocky. We have our board president, Jody Bergedick, and we have our wonderful tech team, Cassandra Klein, Larry Newhouse, and Cynthia Johnson. Yes, let's give them some applause. Real live applause. It's nice to have a little in-person audience. Indoor in-person meetings are still not permitted on our campus per our policy, but there are a number of outdoor gatherings, more and more being planned and organized. You can look on your e-blast for more information. I will draw your attention particularly to, we're having some office hours on the patio where 3 times a week on Tuesday mornings, Wednesday evenings, and eventually Saturday afternoons, we can gather for fellowship and community on the patio here. Eventually, we will gather in Holland. And we are also planning 4 Christmas Eve services live on our patio in person. You can sign up for that in the link in the e-blast. And an update on worship services as we move forward into 2022. As of January, UUCT will start offering services live from our sanctuary almost every Sunday. The Baja 4 collaboration that we've had for the past 21 months is shifting into a new shape. So 5th Sundays, which there are approximately 4 of a year, and maybe the occasional other Sunday, will be collaborative Baja 4 services, perhaps live streamed from other locations, other buildings. But most Sundays, UUCT will be offering live stream worship services and eventually in-person worship services here in Holland. Welcome. We are so glad that you are here. This is the season of endings and beginnings, when the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First comes the lessons of endings and beginnings. The presence of life, the sheltering spirit of love, grieves with those sweeping up the debris of loss. Waits with those who relentlessly reach out for change. Grant us courage in the night to guard each other's dreams for this holy, wondrous universe. Grant us, O universe, unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which does not serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Teach us the lessons of beginnings. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds which will bring to birth what is ready to be born, something right and just and different, a new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love, in the fullness of time. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. It's time now for us to light our chalices. So if you have a chalice or a candle nearby, please light it now while I read these familiar words from Reverend Leslie Takahashi. You can read along with me if you wish, as you're willing and able. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stand with us now on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, and a deeper joy in this life that we share. We will now sing People Look East, hymn number 226.
People look east, our time is near, of the crowning of the year. Make your house fair as you are able, trim the hearth and set the table. People look east and sing today, love the guest is on the way.
Furrows be glad though earth is bare, one more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in course the flower may flourish. People look east and sing today, love the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim, one more light the bowl shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People look east and sing today, love the star is on the way.
We are blessed this morning with the opportunity to dedicate ourselves to the raising and nurturing of our children and one particular child, Rowan. Yes. Watercolor and Josh. you have brought Rowan here to be dedicated to the spiritual care of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. This is not a baptism, not a ritual to usher children into any one certain belief system. We are certainly not purifying this child, but we are welcoming them on the path to becoming their truest self. If we were here in person, many people would gather around this child, Rowan. Here in person today, we have Watercolor, Rowan's mom, and Josh, Rowan's dad, and Sydney, right, Rowan's sibling. And we have a number of other of Rowan's family here in person, and also chosen family here in person. And we all have feelings always. We also have a number of chosen family joining us on Zoom. We have Samantha and Tabitha and Adele and Glenn here joining us on Zoom. Today we gather in person and Zoom on the live stream to welcome Rowan on the path to being human. We are committing ourselves to guiding him as he finds his own way. We are acknowledging the many ways that faith traditions bring children into them, and this is how we do it in Unitarian Universalism. Watercolor and Josh, do you take upon yourselves the privilege, responsibility, ache, and joy of caring for Rowan in body, mind, and spirit? If so, please say we do.
We do.
We do.
Do you promise to bring him your personal caring and insight about the wondrous gifts of life and love?
We do.
Do you promise to love him and protect him and to tell him your family stories so he feels connected to his heritage?
We
We
do.
do.
Do you promise to call upon community when you need support and counsel? You will be better parents with the help of a village.
We
We
do.
do.
What is the full name of the child whom we are dedicating today?
Rowan Alexander Golightly.
Rowan Alexander Golightly. You are unique in the universe, precious and powerful. We will use a rose to dedicate you today to remind you and us of the beauty and potential of life. Can you step just one step closer to me? Thank you. I'm going to put this rose on different pieces of your body, okay? I'm just going to touch like this to your head and say, may your mind be filled with wonder as you search for what is true. Can I touch just next to your eye with the rose? Okay. May your vision be unclouded by prejudice and fear. And I'm going to just put it on your mask, close to your mask, okay? May you speak powerfully and honestly. Can I put it on your heart? May you be generous and loving. And can I put it on your hand? Thank you. May your hands do the work of the world. That's your rose. You can take it. And I'm going to have watercolor you. I can take your mic. Thank you. You have a new rose, yes. And now we are going to use different elements of earth to bless Rowan. Rowan, we bless you with this rock, that you might learn to stay grounded in your own evolving identity and also connected to all of creation. And Rowan, we bless you with this fire, that you might learn to listen to your own spirit and to call for justice throughout your life. We bless you with this water, that you might learn that you are connected to the interdependent web of life, which relies on oxygen, that you might be nourished by all your connections to this life. And we bless you with this air. Would you like this too? You can have the other one. We bless you with this air, that you might learn that you are connected to the interdependent web of life, which relies on oxygen to sustain its life just like you. With all these elements of earth, we have blessed you to remind you and all gathered here that we love you beyond belief. May you feel the support of Unitarian Universalists around the country today and throughout your life. And while the children of the congregation either gather here or online with us, now turn your attentions this way. It is your turn to make a promise. Do you remember when you were little, maybe like Rowan? It is important that you treat your friends at church fairly and lovingly. Do you promise to welcome Rowan, to watch out for him, and to help him when he is sad or hurt? If so, please say we do. And now will the whole congregation gathered here and on the live stream please turn their attention this way? Do you promise to treat Rowan as you want to be treated? Do you promise to nurture Rowan as he explores what is true for him? Do you promise to live your lives in such a way that the lives of all children are enhanced? Do you promise to support Watercolor and Josh as they raise Rowan to become Unitarian Universalist? Do you promise that you will answer their calls for support and counsel when they call on you? If so, please say, we do. We do. In the name of all that is sacred and holy, blessed be, and amen.
That was sweet. That was very nice. I'm glad he likes the pinwheel too. That's good. Oh, hello everyone now. It's time for the offering. Remember that the life of our congregation continues throughout the midst of this pandemic. And even though only a few of us are meeting in person, our congregation still depends on all of your financial support. To support our congregation, you can either send a check right to the office. You can give online to uuctucson.org/donate, or you can text 833-361-5796. Please remember that all of us have been warmed by fires which we did not build. We have drunk from wells that we did not dig. So it is with gratitude that we accept all of your financial contributions. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Chris. That was beautiful. It's time now for the next part of our service, joys and sorrows. All of us carry both joy and sadness inside. These emotions may not be obvious to those around us, but they are very real and very present to us. Each of us needs the time and the space to honor these feelings. Remember that our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and relish our joy, our love, and our anger. This bowl to my right holds the big rocks, and those are representative of our collective celebrations and that which we mourn. It also will hold the smaller stones, each of which signify our individual joys and sorrows. So let us celebrate the breathtaking beauty of the desert and our mountains now with a slight dusting of snow. Let us also not forget the thousands of lives that have been taken prematurely by this pandemic, which continues to ravage our country and the world, and all the damage done by the tornadoes that struck in Kentucky and the surrounding states. Water is life. Water is what all of us are made of, and we use this jug that Reverend Bethany is holding, just like the ones that No More Deaths leave in the desert, in their efforts to offer life-saving water to those who journey into our country in pursuit of safety and opportunity. As we pour out this water, let us remember that those desert people who first came to this place in which we live. We honor the Hohokam, the Yavapai, the Tohono O'odham, and the Yaqui, as well as the many indigenous people who no longer exist as tribal entities here in Arizona. So if you now have a joy or a sorrow that you want to honor, I invite you to type it into the chat, or perhaps you wish to speak it out loud wherever you are. And as you do that, Reverend Bethany will place pebbles into the water that symbolize each of those joys and each of those sorrows. May the ripples of healing and the ripples of celebration spread far beyond this bowl. Thank you.
Lifting up a few worries and celebrations from our YouTube chat. I will echo the celebration that Rowan being dedicated. This is something that was ongoing before pandemic, maybe a sign of returning to the new normal. Celebrating the birth of our first great grandchild. Congratulations, Claire. And sharing the worry from Laura of needing to move her family to a better, a more affordable climate, a better climate for her and her daughter. Blessings on your journey, Laura. Hear these words of prayer from D. Scott Cooper as you enter into that spirit of meditation or prayer or contemplation, whatever is your own style. We bow our heads in order to imagine not one path, but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health, financial hardship, family crises, and other roadblocks we cannot begin to understand or imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be a welcoming presence along that path toward hope. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path toward hope. We imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely at this time of year. May we take one another's hands or walk side by side, move side by side as we travel that path toward community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward, the paths will lead to hope. The roads will lead to beloved community. And the arc will bend towards justice because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. May we share a moment of silence together. May it be so.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, thou wisdom from on high, and order all things far and nigh. To us the path of knowledge show, and cause us in her ways to go. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, thou day spring, come and cheer our spirits by thy justice Christ is here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, holy is thy name.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chris, for that. I have a reading for this morning. It is titled A Holy Impatience, written by the Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner. It was published a little over a year ago, December 2nd, 2020. Although Reverend Robin is actually a consultant for the Baja Four and also a minister in Summit, New Jersey. Although she wrote this just over a year ago, like I said, her words about waiting up for the pandemic to end reflect a place that many of us are still in to varying degrees. This is what she wrote. Shortly after his birth and several times in the first year of his life, my son Benjamin was hospitalized with breathing difficulties. Now he is a robust and energetic 2.5-year-old. Before the pandemic, we sent him to daycare. This was a big decision, informed by his pediatric pulmonologist, who told us that Benjamin's lungs were now strong enough to withstand the germs he could be exposed to in daycare. In those first few weeks when he would come home, Benjamin was delighted about seeing other children. But at night, I would creep into his room while he slept so I could listen to his breathing. After 3 weeks of doing this, I realized that I was waiting for him to become sick again. I was exhausted. Re-entry into a more normal life was hard. And even in the presence of all things that longed for and hoped for, re-entry is still hard. Now, this year, this Advent season seems particularly seized by the spirit of the expected and the longing. The waiting is a mixture of dread and hope. On the one hand, I turn to the horizon and I long for a day without masks, with face-to-face humanity once again. But, on the other hand, as winter deepens, I seize up for a second swell, now third, now fourth, of this terrible virus. I listen to Benjamin's breathing and my own heartbeat pumps in my ears. And still, hark the herald angels sing, we are called once more to a holy impatience and presence, to live with an unquenched longing for a world as it yet can be, while also discovering the bits of that world are already unfolding right here in our midst. The child is not here yet, and yet the spirit of that child, the dreams for that child, the story has already been written upon our hearts. We are in time of readying for joy, even as injustice and suffering weave themselves into each and every day. Perhaps this is hope, a holy impatience at its most elemental and embodied form, which dares us to dream more fiercely, loving the world that we are presented with today. This morning, as I went out the door, Benjamin shouted, "Wait, hug!" That was enough, but it will never be enough.
Thank you for that reading, Bert. I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be ready when joy comes back to me. It's a song by Sean Staples initially, although a number of people have covered it, and I discovered it from Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner's Braver, Wiser post. That's what our reading was from. It was a precursor to that post, and ever since I discovered it and listened to it, those words have been alive in my body. And I'm here rather than there because I don't know if I have a sermon this morning. I have 3 questions, and like a good minister, I got a lot of thoughts. So I'm here for a conversation. My 3 questions. Why are we waiting? Why are we still waiting? And what are we waiting for? I'll start with a story. Why are we waiting? Why am I talking about waiting today? Advent, the 4 Sundays in the Christian liturgical calendar before Christmas, is the season of waiting. I went to a Christian seminary, and in one of my classes, we were talking about the liturgical calendar. We got to Advent, and one of my classmates said so authentically, "I love Advent." And the professor said, "I know what you mean. I love Advent too." And I'm sitting there like, who are these people? They like waiting. They like patience. They like the season when this is what you do, this is what you're focusing on so intently. I must be mad. Or maybe someone here is. It's cutting out. I'm going to change the mic and come back. That better? Yeah, that's better. Needless to say, Advent is still not my favorite holiday, my favorite time, my favorite practice. But I've learned a little bit about Advent since being in that seminary classroom. I've learned that it's not just about patience, not just waiting and waiting in an inactive state. I've learned about some active ways of waiting. There's a reading I want to offer in the midst of this conversation from Reverend Annie Gonzalez Milliken. She gets to some of the active types of waiting. She writes, "Wait like Mary. Let your soul magnify the divine. Praise a God who would scatter the proud, bring down the mighty, and fill the hungry with good things, while the rich are sent away empty. Wait like Joseph, too," she writes. "Wait like a man who stands by his pregnant fiancée when his society tells him she is wrong, unrespectable, immoral, and when he himself is confused. Yes, wait even like God. Wait like a force so powerful it created the entire universe, so loving it was willing to become a fragile baby human born into poverty and an occupying empire. Wait like a God who gets fleshy, gets vulnerable, gets into radical empathy with the oppressed by literally becoming one of them. We wait," she writes, "for a new creation, a beloved community, a way of living into relationship that defies the racist systems that destroy lives in our country and our world. We wait in this time of Advent." Advent is not just about waiting and just patience, inactive. There can be a way that rather than just waiting, we are readying, we are preparing. We even hear those words ready and prepare in some carols leading up to Advent or Christmas carols. And so I come back to that song I've had in my heart. I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be ready when joy comes back to me. Why are we still waiting? Reverend Robbins' reading reminded me that last year in my Christmas stocking, my dad gave me, or I think my dad gave me a mask with Christmas trees on it, a face mask with Christmas trees on it. And I was like, well, I can't wear this after Christmas, right? I had this idea in my head that I wouldn't be wearing masks anymore by Christmas 2021. And yet here I am, mask here. I wear it every public place I go into and some private places. My colleague, Katie Resendez, who's the director of children's ministry at the UU Congregation of Phoenix, says that this is the 21st month of Advent. 21 months of waiting for the surge to stop, for my children to go to school, for the vaccine, for the second vaccine, for the booster, for waiting 21 months. Whew. And all of us are waiting. And I know that we are waiting in different ways. And I know that our waiting looks different for different people. I am not saying there is one way to wait, but we have been waiting. And I contrast that 21st month of Advent idea with something that one of you told me a few weeks ago. You told me that you're a public school teacher, the person who told me this, and they said to me, if I didn't do my own research, if I wasn't listening to certain sources, certain scientists, everything in my life and work is telling me that everything is absolutely normal. Everything is back to normal. There's nothing wrong here. There's nothing going on. And I think that's real. It feels real for us, and all of us are stuck somewhere in between 21 months of Advent and everything is normal. Maybe not all of us are stuck, but we all find ourselves along this continuum, and it's a pretty broad continuum if we put those two things side by side. I heard from a member of the choir this week. We're just waiting. They practice out in our patio, you see videos of them sometimes. We are just waiting for it to not be dark and cold. We are just waiting for it to not be dark and cold. Or for someone to say we can go inside, I think is some implicit thing in there. But that really struck me. I had a minister moment when I heard this person say that, because it was like, aren't we all waiting for it to not be dark and cold anymore after 21 months? There's no coincidence that Advent falls in, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, this cooling time of year, this time that is coming right before the shortest day, when it's getting darker and darker, and we are struggling to learn the lessons that the darkness has to teach us. Another of you told me, and I think this gets more to readying than just waiting. Another of you told me, the garden is planted. Amongst this list of things going on in this other person's life that were causing them stress, the garden is planted. And there's some hope in there for me, because the seeds are in the ground. There's some initial nurturance being there. And it made me remember that the Advent story isn't about expecting the Messiah to come at the end of Advent, because the Messiah comes in the form of a baby who takes 33 years to learn to be nurtured into that role of being a prophet for the people. And it's kind of like those seeds in the ground for me, that we put these seeds in the ground and then we wait. But that first little thing that comes up is not food, is often not quite the flower we planted or whatever it is we are expecting. It's just the beginning. There's still more waiting after the waiting. I want to be ready. I want to be ready. I want to be ready when joy comes back to me. When hope comes back to me. When love comes back to me. What are we waiting for? Now, this is one, I don't have answers. This is why this isn't a sermon in some ways. But I get the sense, I feel, and I get the sense that we are expecting something. We are waiting for something. And that something we are waiting for is heavily informed by the something we knew that came before. And placing myself in the story of Advent, I wonder what the people who were alive just before this prophet Jesus was born and then lived, what they were expecting. What are we waiting for? Whatever it is we're waiting for, it might not look the same on the other side of this, right? And we already know that, maybe intellectually, maybe in our bodies. But have we really prepared? What would it look like to prepare or ready ourselves for something that might seem familiar, but be really different, be really adjusted? I was just talking before this service. We're imagining, what would it be like to come in a different door to the sanctuary? What if we gathered on the patio first? Because that would allow some social distancing as we're saying hi, right? Rather than risking being in the way of traffic at this usual door we come in. But what would that change stir up in us? Would it be familiar enough? I wonder about that word, enough. How we ready ourselves for the feeling of familiar enough and mourn that which might be lost in that familiar enough. I'm hearing from churches that are gathering in person now, across the country mostly, that there is mourning ahead of us. There's mourning, perhaps the limitations that are placed, or not having a full sanctuary, or what it feels like to watch choir videos. There's mourning in who we've lost to death and other ways in this time period. There's mourning ahead of us, more of it. I'm sorry. And there's joy too, right? And I think back to that Advent story, that we are waiting for the baby, not the prophet. We are waiting for that thing that will take decades to nurture. And what does it mean to prepare ourselves for that space of nurturing, to ready ourselves for the joy that will come, and then being the ones that need to steward joy into its fruition? It's the work of a lifetime, a few lifetimes maybe. And for me, it's one of the reasons we joined church. Because we might not, all of us, see the impacts of this pandemic play out in all the good and bad ways it could in the rest of our lifetimes. But we join congregations, churches, communities that can share that load with us, that can carry the vision forward when we are gone. We do it to come together in community, to find joy there, to ready ourselves for that world that we couldn't build alone. How will we ready ourselves for whatever it is that will come? I was wondering about that, and then Jan Richardson's poem came across my Facebook page, and I'll offer it to you. For joy, a blessing, she writes. You can prepare, but still it will come to you by surprise. Crossing through your doorway, calling your name in greeting, turning like a child who quickens suddenly within you. It will astonish you how wide your heart will open in welcome for the joy that finds you so ready and still so unprepared. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready. I wanna be ready when joy comes back to me. Let's get ready, friends.
Once in royal David's city stood a lonely cattle shed, where a mother laid her baby in a manger for his bed. So may we, when life turns hard, find in love our stay and guard. Shepherds came to see this wonder and to kneel in holy awe at that lowly stable manger where the infant lay on straw. So may we this happy morn honor every child that's born. In that happy Christmas spirit, hear the angels from on high sing their ancient salutations. Joy's a gift you cannot buy. So may we, with heart that sings, share the truth this season brings.
Everything is about to change, and it already has. It will be, it was, it is. The dawn you eagerly await to end the long, cold darkness is already full sun far off in the east. Yet even after the lights return, spring is months away. 30 long years pass after his birth, but the Messiah comes. Stones of justice have been tossed in the lake, but their ripples have not yet arrived, have not resolved into the kingdom already present among us. While we wait, let us seek in the darkness of the now and not yet for the treasures God has hidden there, the riches of the secret places only found by night. This is what is promised us. The wheel of life turns ever on, and darkness is a path to joy. Will you join me now in saying our words of chalice extinguishing by Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern? When we take fire from this chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their powers by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
Yeah, there's a thing when you create a video, it asks you whether it's intended for kids or not.
Yes.
And if you don't say that it's not for kids, whatever, if you say it's for kids, the chat can't be enabled. Because it's a child protection thing. So, I just learned that.
We still have
Oh, you know what I did for now? I could manually go in on my phone, and the stream was actually once I got in there. So what you do? When you're watching a video, usually it just defaults, it automatically adjusts the phone based on what. I did that excluding there. So the video was sending out was okay. Just for some reason, it was sensing down there.
Oh, what's talking about?
Well, that's really.
Oh, it's happening on yours too? Yeah. Oh, right, really? Well, kind of. I bought it a while ago, but I it's a little while. Oh, gosh, it's got, yes. But the thing is, could there possibly be something like a video?
Right here.
I'm not sure what we've done.
Can you take a picture, or can somebody take a picture of me, Rowan, and Sid? Sure. Big step, huh?
You can stand on the floor this time.
Or you can stand on the.
I can get it on.
Well, carefully, you're right on the top, you can knock it off.
Stand right over there.
Ready?
You want to stand? Smile. Pull your mask on the front.
Smile.
Give Grandma a hug.
I'm not sure it took, but I think it did.
Press the right button in the middle.
Several times, so it's only
Awesome.
to say.
That's yeah.
And I can, I'll go grab it. Sorry, we have to go, Kate has to do it. In like 15 minutes.
Bye. Good to see you. Happy holidays.
Wow. I looked for our. You waited, you're not supposed to sit until.
Stand over here, Mama.
And you're going to be doing the service.
One here. That's all.
That'll be a full stream.
Hey, Rowan, did I get a picture of you with Representative? You want to go apart? Yeah, Celeste will be my man. Take the picture really quick.
Well,